The issue of training and retaining stud and stable staff in Australia is a problematic one. I caught up with Racing Australia boss Myles Foreman recently in Sydney to look at the major issues involved.
Myles, it's great to see this forum taking place in Sydney. What do you think are some of the key points that you've taken from the forum?
The challenge of obtaining our workforce, retaining them, and then in turn how we keep them engaged in the industry. So the challenges that we've been talking about have been getting to that next generation of the workforce and how our country has changed over recent years, and the natural sort of flow that did exist in many years gone by of people flowing in the industry doesn't exist anymore, and the need to think differently and the need to come together and have a clear strategy to achieve that difference.
A lot of ideas flying around obviously, but how can Racing Australia really, is it possible to take control of it? We know there are the issues with states doing different things, but can Racing Australia introduce a broad platform of training and the whole skills platform all the way down, so it's all, whether it be accredited or judged, in the way, say, a uni degree can be judged?
Look, Racing Australia's role, as evidenced by this forum, is to coordinate and bring the states and participants in the industry together, as we've done, and look at ways in which we can collaborate on a national basis. It's not to create those national programs, but it's definitely to coordinate and achieve those outcomes. And this forum, as I say, is a great example of that. And we start that work next week. Next week, the working group that's put the forum together will start work on what the next step is, and then we will take the outcomes of the forum to the principal racing authorities, to administrators across the country, and work through how we move forward.
Yeah, there are some great already, these programs, whether it be Lindy Morris's Thoroughbred Industry Careers, Cecilia O'Gorman and Oswald's with Fast Track, Julianne Christopher with TBNSW and HTBA. They all have different programs they're working out. Julianne's one is working with New South Wales TAFE, for instance. Are you able to sort of bring them all together, or is it good to have them as separate things? Do we need to have an overarching education system for the industry?
Well, we have to remember that education in this country is state-based by its very nature. So just as there's state principal racing authorities, there's state federal governments that are administering education. And within that context, we continue to look at what we can do as an industry, and Racing Australia's role in that to coordinate and bring people together where it makes sense to do so. There are great things happening across the country. The fact that it happens at a state level creates great outcomes because we're looking at it from different angles and achieving different outcomes.
Yeah, so it never can be necessarily truly national, I guess, because as you said, the PRAs and obviously they're government bodies as well. It's very hard to break that up, isn't it?
Well, that's the structure. I mean, it's a reflection of the Commonwealth. It's the state structure that works very well for our industry, and Racing Australia's role there is to assist the principal racing authorities and coordinate where we can. I
guess one of the big things getting people into the industry is, the work hours. We've seen so much talked about the early starts for track riders and stable staff as well, probably to a slightly lesser degree. What are some of the things that have been discussed as far as how you can, whether it be move track work later, all these things are getting discussed. Is there any commonality of a solution?
I think there's one thing very clear in the room. It doesn't matter the individual's background, where they've come from, the issues are consistent. And whether they're track work starting times, they're the environment in which the workplace is existing, it's how the people are attracting and the challenges they face. I mean, our industry is no different to many other industries in this country, struggling to attract people into the industry. There's things we can learn within our industry that's happening on a national basis as much as what other industries are doing to actually address those challenges as well.
And how much does actually training them, so they have, a certificate of whatever level it happens to be, and whether it be, horse breeding or within stable work or whatever, how much do you think that will help to retain the staff? That's the other big thing, keeping them wanting to be in the industry.
Well, I think education is a key driver for anybody, and you think about, if we're trying to attract the next generation, we're also talking about the parents. The parents and them seeing there's a career path and something that comes at the end of that process. So any form of education gives you that starting point and the launching pad to a future career. And as an industry, we do run courses. We have the IRC here at the forum, and they'll be talking about their role working with federal government and skills impact. So there's many of those courses available. It's about making people aware they exist and the wonderful things about our industry. As we know, once someone joins this industry, They very, very rarely leave. They fall in love with the industry and they stay for life.
But having those career paths is so important, isn't it?
Absolutely, and the right entry point with a certificate of some description is a very good entry point, and then continuing their development as individuals on the way through.
And it is, as you say, it's just a wonderful industry, whether it be the stud side, the stable side. There are so many other roles within the industry. It's a great industry to be in.
Well, I think that, again, that's a clear thing that's come out on the forum in the last 2 days, is just the diversity of opportunity that exists with our industry. You can enter the industry at any point, at any age, from any background, and we will welcome you into the industry. We will give you training, we will support you, but those opportunities are vast, as much as the opportunity to travel across Australia and then globally. I mean, there's many people in the room that have had that global opportunity as they've worked through the industry and travel around as well. So, and apart from anything else, a very stable and reliable industry as we've worked through COVID, which is a strong point in itself.